Hello and welcome into the KE Report. I'm your host, Chad Markwitz, and today we're getting an update from Emerita Resources. Emerita Resources is traded on the TSX.V under the ticker EMO and on the OTCQB under the ticker EMOTF. And I'm joined today with the CEO and Chairman of Emerita Resources, David Gower. And David, great to get you back on the show, as always, just to get an update on how things are going on the ground. You put out some news to the marketplace on the 20th of August, just earlier this week, and it was overviewing some of the drill intersections that you got at your El Cura deposit. And just for reference, the El Cura deposit is in between your Romanera and La Infanta deposits at your IBW project. And so I think it's important to highlight how these results tie into the overall plan here. But first, let's get into the actual results themselves and what you're learning about the continuity of the deposit at El Cura.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Chad. Yeah, these results are very interesting to us, of course, because hole 67, of course, is the thickest intercept that we've had to date at El Cura at 16.9 meters, grading about 1.4 copper, 2.1 zinc, almost a gram, 0.93 grams per ton gold, and 42 grams per ton silver. And a second hole into the deposit at 7.2 meters, grading a percent copper, 1.9 zinc, 1.3 grams per ton gold, and 60 grams per ton silver. So these are excellent holes with very good thicknesses, demonstrating continuity within the deposit. We're up to almost 70 holes, or probably over 70 holes now, because we still have assays pending on a few holes that will come in the future. So we're drilling this deposit at a level where we can fit it nicely into engineering and economic studies that will commence this year. Will be tighter than 50-meter spacings on the most important part of the deposit, so it can be modeled properly as part of the development plan. It continues to grow. The drilling shows that the deposit has a structural plunge to the west, and I think some of the historical drilling probably did not recognize that. There were holes drilled in the 1980s that tested the strike extent of this deposit at about 100 meters vertical, and what we can see is those holes erroneously appeared to cut off the deposit when in fact they were over top of the plunge. And so drilling that we're doing now down around 300 meters vertical, so a couple hundred meters below those holes, we're seeing very good mineralization and continuity continuing. We've traced the deposit now over about 600 meters along strike in the east-west direction and down close to about 400 meters now. So still at modest depths, but continuing to grow. We have announced an additional 10,000 meters of drilling to continue to grow the deposit and firm it up in areas where we need to upgrade the drill density. But it's not huge at this point, but continuing to grow. And of course, its location is very important in that it's between Infanta and La Romanera deposits on the property. The infrastructure, as we're conceptualizing it, will be on the east side of the property, close to Infanta, and we'll be drifting across to La Romanera, which is the biggest deposit. And that drift will essentially pass right by El Cura. So El Cura provides a couple of things. It'll be very inexpensive to develop because a lot of the cost to do that will be borne by the Romanera deposit development. And because it's several kilometers closer to where the mill is expected to be, it should provide an opportunity for earlier production as well while we finish the development of the big mine. So all of these things are nice bonuses that will hopefully contribute to the overall robustness of the economics of a project. And it's a copper gold deposit as well, which also is kind of a nice combination in the present market environment.
Yeah, and I think that'd be nice to get into a little bit too, is that between La Infanta and Romanera, there's a little difference in the metallurgy and in the metal content of each one. And Alcura is kind of straddling them both here in the middle, but it brings in some of the precious metals along with the copper. So maybe just speak to how the mineralogy would work and maybe the metallurgic recoveries between the three deposits.
Yeah, sure. La Infanta is the simplest. It's the highest grade and has the lowest gold but the highest silver. So the La Infanta is actually a nice, simple as polymetallic deposits go, a nice simple metallurgical story. Romanera is more difficult. As people are probably aware, we've had to do quite a bit of work to come up with a solution for the gold recoveries there. Very good zinc recoveries and zinc concentrates. We can produce copper and lead cons there. We're still debating whether we would do that or just produce a bulk copper lead concentrate because there's relatively little copper at Romanera. So, and then of course the gold and silver we would collect through a separate phase of metallurgy, as we've indicated. El Cura is more copper rich, so we definitely would have a copper concentrate coming from there. More copper, zinc, less lead, and also very good gold. We haven't done the full metallurgy on El Cura, but we believe it reacts similar to La Romanera, so based on the work that we've done to date. So we would see whatever the process that we finalize for Romanera will work well for El Cura.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was wondering because I know you've done some extensive work at Romanera, and we've talked about that in prior episodes. And I'd encourage people to go back and listen to those where we really dove into the metallurgy. But I think that if you've got it dialed in for Romanera, probably the same kind of process could work at El Cura, even though you still have some more metallurgical studies to do at El Cura, but you still have more drilling to do at El Cura. So I want to circle back to what you said. You've added 10,000 meters. So you want to fill in some of the areas, but also are you going to keep pushing the depth component, or tell us a little bit more about not just the holes that you still have to report? There's a few left from the 70 already drilled, but this new 10,000 meters, what are the goals of that program?
Yeah, we continue to try to extend the deposit down plunge to the west. And there's actually quite a gap up dip because of the way that the drill pads were permitted. We were limited as to how much access we had very near surface, and that's been resolved now. So there'll be some holes going in more shallowly as well. So we could extend it both up plunge, I guess is the correct way to describe it, and down plunge to the west. Given the financing that we're in the process of completing, we're going to have a very strong treasury, and we'll be in great shape to accelerate this program and perhaps bring in additional drills.
Well, let's talk about that financing because you just upsized it with the concurrent financing, so you're up to about 26 million, and that allows you to really accelerate the development work. I mean, you already had some money in the treasury, so some people may be wondering why'd you do the raise, but talk to about how it can actually accelerate the plan here.
Yeah, well, the original announcement was to raise 15 million. The book was sold out within hours, basically, and it upsized ultimately to 25. And then for some international investors, it went to 26 with a sidecar. It could have actually gone to 40. The appetite for that financing was astounding to me. We were very pleasantly surprised. So hopefully that there's still a large appetite, left in the market that could not get in. Unfortunately, almost nobody got a full fill, other than our lead order, of course, Mr. Eric Sprott, who has been a long-time supporter of the project. But yeah, we're very, very pleased. The Treasury is in very good shape. As you mentioned, we already did have some money, but as we approach the fall, we want to approach it with strength. We see very big potential for obviously a successful conclusion to the Aznalcóllar project. But IBW is a real project as well, and we really want to accelerate the development plan here and also work on some of the surrounding properties as well as Nueva Tintillo. We have very valid drill targets there as well that need to be evaluated. So I think from our perspective, it's just much healthier for our shareholders if we can really push with confidence these projects. And it's also very important for us on the ground in Spain to demonstrate that we're a strong and very active company at this time and really work to develop these projects and prove to the communities that we're working in that we're here for the long haul. And, we're not just resting on our hands waiting for a lawsuit. We really want to demonstrate to everybody that this is a serious development project that deserves to be treated as such.
Well, let's maybe dig into that point. We'll get to Aznalcóllar in a minute here, and I'm sure people want an update there. But with just IBW, just and not even considering Nueva Tintillo in the early stage exploration there, just IBW itself, what is the pathway forward? What are the timelines? Can you give us, now that you have a little bit larger treasury, How can you accelerate it? How can you show people that are local stakeholders that you are serious? What are the next steps there?
Presently, we're providing some final documentation to the regulators with respect to the permitting process, and assuming that that is all in line with what they've requested, and we've been meeting with them to try to ensure that it will be. We would expect sometime in the next month that the project will go up for public consultation, which is kind of the almost the late stage part of this process. That's a 40-day public consultation period. It's just online. And during that period, of course, the public are welcome to voice any concerns as well as certainly supporters of the project. And there are many, particularly in the business community, who can see the advantage of the increased economic activity it will bring. And then the government will go through and all of those submissions will be responded to, both positive and negative. We'll, of course, help the government with those responses, but ultimately they do come from the government, but we provide the information for them. Following that, it goes then to a resolution. Well, assuming, there's nothing, no fatal flaws pointed out during those things, but we don't expect that. We would have seen them by now. We should see hopefully the exploitation license process wrap up and be permitted by the end of the year. And so we want to make sure that we're moving this project ahead technically in line with that sort of schedule.
What other work are you doing at La Infanta or Romanera then to advance those while you're doing the permitting on the side?
La Infanta, we're not doing a lot. Romanera, we now that with the Treasury, we're likely going to start drilling again. There's a fair amount of inferred that could be converted to indicated to increase what will go into a feasibility there. We probably won't chase it too much deeper. We're down close to 700 meters. And even though it's wide open at those depths, that sort of drilling is much better done from underground when you're a lot closer. We're looking at kind of a 20-year mine life with what we have at a very good production rate. So once we're underground at Romanera, we can extend that deposit and extend the life and perhaps increase the production rate as a result. But it'll be a staged development. Obviously, a larger company would probably take a different approach and drill it now. But those are very expensive holes. 700 meters vertical, you're drilling plus 1,000 meter drill holes. You get into directional drilling. They take a long time, so it's a long time for your news flow. And from our perspective, getting the project, we have a robust project that should be of interest to the market with a long mine life already. So I think that's the proper development plan for this.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I don't know that the market would really reward you for going that much deeper at this point, considering the cost to do so. And like you say, once you get underground, way easier to drill from underground, way shorter holes, way more accuracy, and you've already got enough to say grace over, as the saying goes. So you've
Correct.
got a big mine life already, and so you'll just be jumping categories there, maybe moving them from inferred to indicated. You still got more drilling going on at El Cura, and then maybe a little bit of work at La Infanta, but you really got things really setting into place here for the whole IBW project. We'll maybe save Nueva Tintillo for another time, but could you maybe just say in a quick statement, is there going to be any exploration work going on there in tandem this year, or will that be more of a next year thing?
No, we expect that there will be some work there this year. We have those Gaussons with the high gold silver values that we discovered late last year. So once the fire season has abated, we'll look at getting back in there. And also we've done geophysical work on the claims around IBW, and there could be some drilling going on there. And of course, at IBW, we continue to work on the metallurgy. We do have a solution that's satisfactory, but there are a number of other technologies, such as the Albion technology of Glencore, and a couple of others that we are also interested in testing to make sure that we select the best cost benefit option for the project because it's going to be in production for a long time.
Yeah, it makes sense to explore all the options on the table and always tweaking the metallurgy and looking for the best way to get recoveries before you launch into a development scenario. Okay, so a lot going on with IBW for sure. Even some work going to be going on at Nueva Tintillo and maybe even some regional work around IBW. Let's get over to project number 3 here, Aznalcóllar. I know that you put out the news on the 16th of July. and it basically mentioned that the hearings had wrapped up on the 15th, the day before that, on July 15th. They started on March 3rd. I know that you're still waiting on the decision here, but of course, everybody is chomping at the bit to know what you can share with us. Is there any other color you could put around the information shared, or at least summarize it for people listening in?
Sure. Well, nobody's chomping at the bit more than us, I would say, but there's really not a lot of new information. There's been some really good summaries, I guess, of the trial and the charges and the likelihood that I've seen on social media, which some of which are quite accurate, I might say. The process is the judges will convene and there will be a written resolution. The court doesn't actually reconvene. The rest of it will be done in writing. I'm told it will be several hundred pages likely because of the scale of the trial and the number of people involved. And when it's completed, it will go to the respective councils of those involved, including ours. And that will be the way that the outcome of the trial is communicated. Because it's such a large trial involving so many people, I'm told not to expect anything probably before sometime in October, and maybe even the end of October, if not a bit later. And of course, nobody really knows other than the judges themselves what the timeline is. But the courts do shut down, as do most of government, for the month of August in the south of Spain. It's incredibly hot at this time of year, and people make their way to the coast by and large. So not much is going on right now, is my understanding, and things should pick up early in September. Now, I have been told that one of the judges has received a promotion and transferred to another court, and that he can't really go on to that position until all of his cases in this court are concluded. So at least one of the judges will be motivated to get this done on a timely basis. So hopefully that'll work in our favor. But by and large, the main thing we want is proper and fair outcome. And from everything that we've seen, the defense did not really try to defend themselves against the crimes that they were accused of. So we're very optimistic, I would say. Just following on the Aznalcóllar is there are a lot of unrelated but overlapping corruption type issues being addressed in Spain right now, involving some of the people involved with the Aznalcóllar case. And all of these things, I think, reinforce that there was a broader systemic corruption issue that we got caught up in. And all of these things, I think, compound in our favor based on everything that we're hearing. So it goes very high in the government. We certainly didn't realize when we went down this path of disputing a public tender how deep this thing would get. But right now, it seems like every week there's something else that at least peripherally is supportive of our case.
Well, I know that people listening in may be anxious, but like you say, no one's more interested in the outcome than you guys are. And maybe that judge that has the promotion will be a motivating factor to get it wrapped up sooner than later. But at least we'll know in a couple months. And you already messaged to the marketplace that August would be a down month as it is so hot there and people go on holiday. So we'll see what happens when things reconvene and when you get the written notice. But just wanted to give people a quick update there because there's always a question around Aznalcóllar, and rightly so. It's a large project that if it comes into the company's fold, and it looks like it very much could, will be a game changer. We'll keep tabs on it, but I think there's plenty of work going on right now just at IBW to keep people's palate wet. Plenty of work going on with Cura, and we'll definitely follow along with more results as those get released. And now the updated 10,000 meter program, a little bit of work going on regionally at IBW, and some of the infill drilling at Romanera to move categories from inferred to indicated. So lots going on. And then when you get on the ground at Nueva Tintillo and start more exploration there, we'll definitely do an update on that project. A lot going on with Emerita Resources in general. So for those of you listening in, definitely click on the link below in the show notes. It takes you right over to the Emerita Resources website, straight to their news section, where you can sign up for updates, have them hit your email inbox, or just follow along with the news as it's released. It sounds like it's going to be a busy last part of 2025, heading into next year. Lots of things going on. So David, appreciate you carving out some time in your schedule to give us an update here at the KE Report. And as always, looking forward to our next conversation.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.